All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Common Theory. And as always, I'm your host, Gatorbait, along with my man, Puzzlebox. So, as always, guys, we're jumping in, we're going to it. We have some interesting topics to get to you. So, we're going to be a little bit in the past and in the future with some of these topics we have because this weekend, which is coming up for us, but actually past at this point when you guys see this, we have two tournaments going down this weekend. And we are very excited to find out who's winning. We're going to do our best to get an interview with those winners, kind of go from there. But pretty much what we're going to be doing is we're going to be giving our opinion on the king making kind of situation that a lot of people have been talking about and kind of give our thoughts about it because with all these tournaments coming up, we find it to be a very important subject just to touch upon. We're not going in depth here. We're not going through all the true logistics of everything, but just a quick little opinion, a short one for you guys so you see kind of like our thoughts and kind of go from there. But with that said, bro, how you been? You been doing all right?
I've been doing good. I got my Yu-Gi-Oh tournament coming up, so we'll see how that goes. Unfortunately, it's the same day as these tournaments, so I
Yep.
don't get to play in any of them. But I'm excited to see the results of that. And then I guess there's Super Bowl Sunday too. Whatever. Um,
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I'm
I don't
not
watch.
doing anything that I know
Yeah,
of. Maybe I will. We'll see. But I don't know about
yeah.
you. But
Yeah, I don't follow football. I hope I don't get beaten
uh,
up in the comment section for that
yeah,
one,
you
but
guys can rag on us. But
but with all that said, all right, my man. So let's okay. This is what's crazy about this subject, right? You always hear these people complaining about these people. You know, I've even done it myself. I'm pretty sure you have as well in the past. Now we've grown a little bit, but oh, this play, you did this play and you kingmaked, or you did this, you kingmaked, and that word gets thrown around quite a bit. It's kind of weird how often it gets thrown around. But the thing that's kind of washed under the rug, which we were talking about prior to this episode, was as an example, right? This will just be one of the examples we give you guys. I'm the Crypt Rat player. I have a Crypt Rat. I'm a two-color deck. Doesn't matter. Black X. Pick anything. Half of my mana base is one color, the other half is the other color. Best case scenario, right? I pop the Crypt Rat. I take out the player that's about to win the game. 9 out of 10 times, that player that popped that Crypt Rat has lost that game. They lost it because they blew their own resources. They handled the biggest problem, but the other two players didn't lose much at all. And the problem with this scenario is that specific player that pops that Crypt Rat 9 out of 10 times loses that game. So the reason we wanted to bring this style of scenario is this is actually relatively common because we have many scenarios that relate to this in senses of I'm the player that stops this player from winning, but I'm also the player that used several cards to stop that one player, but the other players did not. And this has kind of become like a trend we've seen in the community. There's actually a few new players that are in the community that love their removal, love their interactive pieces, and it's kind of become a running joke for them to be second place. So we wanted to touch just a quick note upon it and see what you guys thought. Love to hear you guys' feedback and we plan to do a deep dive into this here in the next few coming weeks and really touch upon it all the way after we see a few of these events and see a few things unfold. But with all that said, what do you think, man? What do you think about that Crypt Rat scenario to start off?
yeah, so crypt rats and likewise effects like pestilence and things of the like are a really interesting case because at its fundamental value and intention, it's just removal, right? At bare
Exactly.
minimum, if there's a Peregrine Drake, and they put a flicker on the stack. I put 3 damage on the stack, and I kill the Peregrine Drake, and then the combo's over, right? But the thing that makes these board wipes a lot more difficult to assess is the fact that they are board wipes, and you're not only taking out the Peregrine Drake, but you're wiping your own board, everyone else's board potentially, and in some cases, you're not wiping everything, which can be where things get really problematic, I think. For instance, if you're popping Crypt Rats for 3 to kill that combo piece, and there's a Crackling Drake sitting there in play, and now they get free initiative to kill whoever they want, basically. Um,
Or free initiative.
or yeah, initiative itself. Um, or yeah, in the instance where, like you said, you're killing a player, you have to take that into consideration, and that's a dynamic that I think our format gets a lot more often than our sister format, CEDH, because we have so much more combat in our format that life totals matter a lot more. And a card like Crypt Rats or Pestilence being able to just remove a player, or even removing a player through combat, you really have to take into consideration what the pod composition looks like after you have expended your resources to remove a player from the table, and then you're passing the turn, and you still have to survive a turn cycle, right?
Yep. Well, you bring up a great point. You bring up the combat aspect of our format. Now, we all know that you're not a fan of the combat step, right?
Absolutely.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? And realistically, we have so much mid range. We have so many control decks that are doing their best to be a viable competitor within the format. And they struggle because of clocks. And once again, if I'm one of those decks and I have the Crypt Rat, I nuke everything I've been developing the first few turns, and sure, maybe I have something that could survive. But it's just like you said, what if my opponent does too? That foils everything I've been trying to create, this dynamic I've been trying to push forward. And it's just foiled with one opponent's creature. I mean, we have awkward creatures like 113s, which is a bit unrealistic. I know not many people play that card, but it exists. And it's very awkward that it exists. So we have these scenarios that are just so many, and you would think they're few far in between, but they're really not. Like, this is a scenario, like I said, 9 out of 10 times these Crypt Trap players lose the game. But what's ironic about that is that you don't realize it. And I was a perfect culprit of this. I did this more than most because I was playing Armix and Doggo for a long time. And I was like, yeah, I blew up everything 3 turns in a row. I got him. But then I lost to a different player. And the whole reason I even started doing this is I realized that even though I did that game action over and over again, I still lost the game. And then I would do it in other game scenarios. And I still lost the game. And then I'd play against you with Gretchen. And I blew up your lane on tappers 3 times. But I still lost the game to you. So it was like, huh, this is a trend. Let me watch other players and see what happens. And yeah, it's the norm. So, with all that said, I got the next little scenario for you, bro. And this is brought to you by a new player in the format. I'm not going to point out any names, but I'm going to use the cards that they specifically have been playing, and it's been causing them to get second place for a few different reasons. And I'm going to start with the first card. All the cards are essentially similar, but that is Lignify effects, Reprobation, the Oubliettes, those specific cards. There's no question. I mean, can you question if those cards are powerful? I'm pretty sure
Oh,
we all could agree.
and
They're
as
busted,
a
right?
Gretchen player, those cards are so strong.
Yeah. Like, they're busted. But if you play them incorrectly, you've lost the game. And
Yep.
the scenario that this specific player that's new to the meta, they're learning the format, is running into is I'm going to lignify your Gretchen. I'm going to reprobation your Malcolm. I'm going to deep freeze your breaches. And the scenario that happens over and over again to them is that player sits behind it, pretends they are out of the game, and then they lose. Now, granted, that's not always. Sometimes that player does lose. But once again, we're back to a 9 out of 10 times that player goes, You beat me. And can you truly argue that they are in a losing position? Their Malcolm is just dead to rights. Even if Gretchen had infinite mana in play, there's no outlet without the Gretchen. So it's just like, I have infinite mana, can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So it looks right. You know what I mean? So what are your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'll speak to this from the Gretchen perspective, but yeah, it's like if Gretchen is winning and clearly the front runner, you should probably lignify the Gretchen, right? It basically shuts the deck off completely. I don't play that many card draw spells because most of my card draw comes from the command zone because I'm just focusing on the redundancy for mana production instead.
Yep.
So denying that is amazing. But yeah, like you're saying, sometimes that'll happen and I'll just be like, well, I'm dead. And I'm not playing dead because I am effectively dead. I'm out of the game. There's no shot of me ever winning it, seeing what I'm seeing. I have 20 mana and just more mana in my hand. But the thing about it is, obviously, yes, I am functionally dead, so people are going to ignore me. And then when I draw that one bounce spell and no one has a response, and I just immediately now have access to Gretchen with 30 mana. Like,
Exactly.
the thing about them is that if you're not able to protect them or things of that nature and ensure that I stay in play or in the game soon after playing them, things of that nature, that can backfire. And another one is whenever two players are both in winning positions, it gets really tricky. Where, like, if I'm playing Gretchen and I have 20 mana, but there's also a Malcolm with a Reckless Fire Waver in play and a Kedis, if you hit Gretchen, then you deny me my card advantage and win condition, but denying me that card advantage also means I can't dig for answers to the other problem. Same potentially if you hit the Malcolm and deny them mana. If they didn't have win in hand, now they have less mana to deal with the Gretchen. And things of that nature. So, and it's sorcery speed, so you have to make a decision preemptively. You don't get to
Yep.
react, which is what makes sorcery speed removal, one, just not as good as instant, obviously, but two, like, so skill intensive and difficult to use because you have to know in your head what's most likely going to happen if you do or don't and what you target and things of that nature.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with that. Like it's very interesting because in the scenario that you brought up, which I love, is the Gretchen Malcolm, which mean you have been we've been there, we've done that. And people forget because we're a newer format, we're kind of rising right now. Not all the decks are similar in strength currently. Are they all viable? Yes, but there are some dynamics which are lost, through translation and things of that nature. But realistically, we're growing, we're learning, all of us are learning. But when you have two clear established decks at the table and two newer ones, they know what they're doing. Those decks are powerhouses. And in the sense of Malcolm Kedis and Gretchen, they need to balance each other out at that table. And if you're targeting one of them down, you're giving the game to the other player. It almost always happens that way. If there's two Malcolm players, one of those Malcolm players is winning the game because both other players are throwing everything they have, and you can't stop them. You have to hope that they actually stop each other. But if you just crush one of them, the other one has free reign. I mean, it's that simple. We've, I mean, preaching to the choir, right? You've experienced that firsthand, right? You know
Absolutely.
exactly what I'm talking about. In fact, my favorite example, and you know this one. This was way back when. This was a long, long time ago. I was playing Vohar. That's how long ago this was. You were playing Gretchen.
I was still playing Gretchen, even back
Yep.
then.
Yep. Even back then, you went for a turn three win. And I say this to so many people, and it's such a joke now because I got the turn three win in the tournament. But ironically, if you would have won that game, you were going for a turn three win. And I hit you with a daze, I hit you with a snuff out, and I hit you with a foil. And you had a dispel and something else. I don't remember what it was. I think it was like a shore up or something.
Yeah, I think I had like Shore Up to get the extra mana, and then the
Yep.
spell and something else.
But I had three pieces, you had two, and this was a turn three win attempt by you. And if I would have never stopped that, you would have had the first turn three win, and I would not have. But I stopped you, so it was just like one of those weird things. Wait, now, best part of the story, we both lost that game.
Oh,
I went to
absolutely.
what, one card in hand?
It
You went
was
to one card in
so
hand.
awful. Yeah, like,
Yeah, like it was horrible, horrible. They beat us to death, and that just shows I stopped Puzzle from winning the game.
well, yeah, because look at the board state after that interaction happens, right? I had a
Yep,
land untapper, a land untap for like 3 mana,
yep.
and Gretchen, and maybe I had Gretchen. I don't remember exactly.
You had the Arbor Elf
Um,
line.
but yeah, I
Yep,
had an Arbor of Line, and during that interaction, I lose 2 cards from my hand, so that's at least like 5 cards. 6, I guess. Land, 2 enchantments, Arbor
yep.
Elf.
Yeah,
Six
I killed the
cards,
Arbor Elf and the
and the
Freed.
Arbor Elf is gone, and the Freed is gone. And you bounce an island to cast Daze for free, foil, discard that island. So you
And another
basically
card.
sacked an island, plus another card, plus those two
Yep,
cards themselves,
and Snuff Out.
and stuff out.
Yep.
So like
Yeah,
we're
we were
we're
just
done.
dead.
Like there's nothing left. Um
Yep,
and then, the other two decks were just slower decks comparatively. And
yep.
it's like there's no like it's Gretchen, it can come back obviously, it just needs to get mana. Um and you still have to respect the decks and beat them down. But I found it interesting that I got beat down instead of the people who weren't. But I also
Yep.
understand it, right? Because like at the end of the day, it's Gretchen. It's still there. It's
Well,
still a combo deck, right? So
it's it's what they say. You went for a turn three win, so you're the big bad. I destroyed everything you did. You didn't have anything. If you come back and win that game, sure. It's your game to win at that point, right? Let's be
yeah,
realistic. Like you would have had to been ignored for like 6 or 7 turns at that
yeah,
point,
at
just
least
trying to recast everything you have going on. Like, and
redraw the hand, redeploy the land of tappers, find another combo piece, and yeah, all that.
exactly. I mean, it's absurd. It's just same as me. Hope I draw lands. Hope I draw interaction. Hope I draw something to develop my board. Hope I'm doing. That's not realistic. And I love using that as an example because we went through it together and we've gone through several of those styles of interactions. And I see it all the time in just open play. And it's the same thing with all of them. They do this same thing. And they're learning, of course, we learned and whatnot, but these tournaments are going to prove the differences with that, right? It's like, oh, kill the Malcolm player sitting at the table. Okay. What about that guy over there. That Malcolm person could have stopped that guy over there, but you just nuked the Malcolm player off the table, give this player free reign, and there you go. Wonder why that player won the game.
Yeah, and we're not saying don't play interaction. That's completely not what we're
Oh,
saying. You have to
not
play
at all.
interaction. I think more so the general point is work on your threat assessment and your general game knowledge so that you can better understand when to interact, how to interact, and what that interaction will have in terms of the impact on the overall game itself.
Yep. The why, right? The why. Maybe you don't lignify that creature on turn 3. Let them have a little bit. Like, don't curve it. If they go curve out Malcolm and you immediately lignify it, don't do that. Wait a turn or two. Let them get a treasure. Let them kind of get comfortable so they are able to interact with the other players. If you just cold turkey them from the beginning of the game, like the oubliette on the mono red player. Oh my gosh, I have seen so many mono red decks beat oubliette. You have no idea. It doesn't actually stop them. Oubliette the Dargo. You still lose to the Dargo deck because it gets ignored. Oh, there's no Dargo. There's like 10 pingers in the deck and 40 burn spell. You end up getting killed. Or
Yeah.
my favorite one. Are you ready for this one? A different player beats that player and forgets that the oubliette is stopping that.
Yep.
And then
No,
and you're
if
like
I'm oublieting something, I am constantly reminding the table, if I die, Thargo comes back.
Yep,
Don't kill me.
yep.
So there's also that politic line and all of that stuff where you have to understand if it's actually worth it to take out the player with the oubliette, or
Yep.
potentially even remove the oubliette for the Dargo player. All kinds of
Craziness.
political
Yep.
garbage that gets really complicated and is hard to cover since we're doing a bit of a shorter episode for you guys today. Probably not going to go into all that.
Yes. Not yet. But with that said, let's wrap this one up because like we said earlier, this is just a short one. And let us know, guys, if you like this, you want us to dive much deeper in this, give you guys like actual gameplay scenarios, not just like the little short snippets that we're doing. Let us know. We'd love to do a deep dive and stuff like this because this has been a huge topic in the community overall. And we love talking about it, especially because we are here for the competitive gameplay. Like that is us. We are that to a T. And yeah, love to talk about it. But with that said, anything else for us, bro? Or
I think that covers it. I can wrap us up here. Thank you guys for watching today. Be sure to leave comments down below. Let us know what you think about it. Make sure to like the video while you're down there if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't already. Hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you all next time.